Ladies and gentlemen, I've been preaching, if you will, for several months now on how unique and how well put together a lot of the Asian market films are, especially the films coming from Korea. And there has been a big push for these films. Netflix just spent literally billions of dollars on Korean content because it's the most watched on their streaming service. And I've detailed to you why this happens. A big part of it is Asian cinema is not pushing any type of agenda. There's no wokeness in its stories. So when you watch a movie, you can just watch it for what it is and not be lectured to or preached at or what have you. And that's a benefit. But for quite some time, even longer, the Asian markets have been renowned, shall we say, for their horror stories. They've done exceptionally well, and many Asian market horror films have been brought over to America and redone. Tonight's lesson plan deals with a story that suffers from the typical elements that generally plague Asian films. But having said that, it is kind of unique and it is a pretty good story, and it's one I think you will like as cinematic class is about to begin. And your professor is it. Greetings, salutations, and other sundry affairs. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's lesson plan is a film from Korea called EXHUMA. Boy, this is a kind of an interesting movie. I gotta tell you, I enjoyed this, and I've said in reviews past, the Asians don't know how to end their movies. Okay, they always go on much longer than they need to. This one is no exception. It's clocking in at about 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is way too long for this type of film. However, a bit of a caveat here, it's actually two stories. Okay, so basically, here's the story. The story number one and what's going on. A group of paranormal experts has been called in by a very wealthy family because the family is being plagued by demons. Right? In this group is Sang Duk. He is a geomancer, and he is played by Chow Min Sik. The main thrust of this group is a shaman known as Hua Rim, and she is played by Kim Go Win. And she has an apprentice, Bong Gil, who is played by Lido Duan. So that's our trio who go to this wealthy family to try to exorcise their demons, if you will. And that is story number one, the battle of this group against the demons plaguing this family. Ah, but then part two comes along. When they go to the grave site of some of the ancestors who belong to this wealthy family, we discover there's a lot more going on in that grave site than just the wealthy family. Yeah. Interred in there are also Japanese warriors. And this story harkens back to a time in feudal Japan when they invaded and literally took over the peninsula of Korea. And this is a time in both countries' culture which, well, I guess it's still kind of a sore spot for, for the Koreans. And as a result, a lot of times you'll see this time period played in to a lot of their a lot of their films, kind of like the Civil War was, I guess, here in America, although different shades. That might be a bad analogy. Problem is, it was a big historical event. So when our paranormal group goes there and finds these feudal Japanese warriors buried in with this wealthy family, it opens up a whole new realm of the story because these Japanese demon warriors, well, they don't know that that time period has passed and they still think they're in conflict with Korea. So now, unleashed upon the city are demons that should have been long gone. And therein lies the second part of tonight's tale.
왜 자꾸 애들 꿈에 나오시는 걸까요?
누가 할머니 이 가지고 있네.
미국에 좀 이상한 집안에 다녀왔거든요. 밑도 끝도 없는 뭐 그냥
부자예요.
시작이 좋네. 내가 한 40년 딴밥 먹고 살았지만 여기는 도저히 모르겠다. 박정우 씨 우리한테 뭐 숨기는 게 있죠?
대살굿을 해보죠.
유세차임이 한기가 엄청나네. 아, 이게 무슨 말이야? 파괴됐다니. 애들 다 죽어.
뭐가 나왔다고 거기서. 겁나 험한 게.
So coming back behind the camera, and let me get this name for you, right? Young Jae Hyun is the director of this movie. And normally I would sit and I would be kind of harsh, I guess, criticizing for the length of this movie. But the fact that there's two separate stories, you know, I found this as a rather intense horror mystery. There are elements of horror. Certainly, you're dealing with demons and the supernatural and what have you. It's really more of a mystery in finding out why this family is being plagued and what in the world are these Japanese feudal samurai warriors doing buried in this very prestigious plot for a prominent Korean family. So the mystery behind those elements really provides the impetus to the story. And there is a definite cut point in this movie. There is a definite ending to the first story about the wealthy family, and then the second story kicks in. While you're watching one movie, you're actually kind of sort of watching two, if you know what I mean. So you can sit through the 2 hours and 15 minutes, even though it's a little bit, bends toward the area where you're getting in the swamp ass. The movie is interesting enough that I think it'll carry you through. Speaking of carrying through, perhaps now is a good time to peel back those veils of time and head back to the early Cretaceous period for the nation's first and only prehistoric film critic, Rex Reed.
As horror stories go, this is more of a mystery. The demons are not scary, just look like old, rotting people. Expect more from Korean horror tales. Certainly won't keep you up at night.
Rex does like his horror films with a lot of horror. And he makes a very good point about the ghosts in this. There's nothing that's gonna, make you jump or something, that type of thing. And technically, the Koreans are very good at this. They can put a lot of really weird looking things together, but they really don't do so in this story. So perhaps we can count that as a bit of a flaw. Nonetheless, despite its length, and despite the fact that it leans more toward mystery than it does horror, I think you'll like this one. I made it through the 2 hours and 15 minutes. The story kept me captivated, and I think you will enjoy this one as well. It's called EXHUMA. Hey, if you enjoyed this review and you would like to be inundated with a plethora of more epic reviews, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Become a part of the Outtakes with Rex Reel page. And anytime I post up a review, you'll be sure to be notified so you won't miss out on any of this goodness. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth